Today we're going to work on a restorative pose that is meant to release tension in the hips, in the pelvis, in the abdomen, particularly the lower abdomen. The pose is called Supta Baddha Konasana. And I will walk you through it. Christian here is going to be our restorative pose model. And as far as what you might want for this class, I have an array of options here. Any of these things. 2 pillows, 2 blankets, 2 blocks. What I'm going to use for Christian is 2 blankets and 2 pillows. I'm going to use all 4 of those things. You might want all of these things. Okay, so potentially have all of them nearby, or you can pause the video when we get to the explanation and decide what you want. But your 2 legs are going to be propped up, and so ideally you have 2 things that are the same height. Let's begin. So I'm moving these pillows out of the way. I'm going to have Christian lay down along the length of the mat. I'm leaving 1 blanket here so that his head has some support. And when I put a support under the head, I want to get into, if he rests his arm here, you see he has a little bit of space between his shoulder and the floor. That's for most of us. So please lift your head up, and we're sliding the blanket to that point and lay your head back down. Okay, and we're moving the hair out of the way so there's plenty of room. He has a nice long neck there. And then please bend your knees one by one. And take the soles of your feet together and open your knees up. And so you see there is a space between the knees and the floor. And he happens to be very open in this context. For some of us, can you show a little tighter version of this pose? For some of us, our knees are much higher, so the props that we're using have to support that. Ultimately, you can relax your legs. Ultimately, we want our legs to be completely relaxed to the degree that our thighs feel like they're sitting comfortably into our hip sockets. Our hips feel heavy on the floor, and then our stomach softens. Okay, so some options. Option 1, I'm going to take this blanket. It was folded like this. I'm going to open it 2 times, and I'm going to roll it from the longer end so that we can slide that underneath his ankles, so he has some nice support under the ankles. You want the roll to be fairly thin. You can make it even longer than this, and that's even more ideal. Please lift your knees up slightly. So I'm placing the roll on top of his feet and tucking it in under his ankles, and release your legs out to the sides. And so now it's holding his shins, it's lifting his ankles so they're not collapsing. Furthermore, the knees are not touching the floor, so we want to address that issue. Please take this arm out nice and wide, just out nice and wide, yeah. And lift this right knee up a little bit. I'm holding the blanket in place. I'm snuggling a pillow right next to him, and release your right leg. And then lift your left leg. And release your left leg. Okay, I have those pillows really close to his hips, which means it's holding his upper thigh, not just the knee. So for him, I might scoot this a little bit wider, and that might feel more grounding so that he has this deepening in the hip to floor connection. How does this feel for you so far?
Feels great.
So we have this option. We have stacking more bolsters underneath the legs option. We have taking blocks, excuse me, taking blocks. We're very familiar. You wouldn't normally step over your student as a teacher. And we can place blocks underneath the knees as well, right? So if there's still a little bit of space there, we could put a block there. We could take the bolster out and just have the block perhaps under the knee or at an angle under the thigh. Okay, so those are all your beautiful options here. We're going to stick with the pillows for today. We're going to keep the blocks over to the sides. And I had him take his arms out nice and wide so that he has open armpits. Open armpits so he can breathe into the sides of the chest, into the sides of the lungs. Now, once you get here, take a deep breath in and release that breath. And then imagine your next breath is moving up from your pelvis, through your abdomen, through your ribs, through your chest, through your throat. And then it's exhaling all the way back down. So you're going from bottom to top. And then you're exhaling all the way back down. Now, instead of feeling the length in your torso, maybe you allow yourself to feel the width. Inhale and expand wide in the belly, wide in the ribs, wide in the chest. And exhale, release. And inhale, widen. And exhale, release. And release the control of your breath. Release the control of your breath so that you may notice where the breath moves on its own. So that you may allow this natural flow within your body. This natural flow that encourages our body to sink in more deeply. Sink into this moment and the sensations that are coming up. Sink into the ground and the support that it's providing. To tap into the flow of energy that is most abundant in this pose. As you let your sacrum, the back of your pelvis, sink more heavily into the ground. Notice the resulting release in the floor of your pelvis. In the space where your thighs touch your hips. In the lower back. in the lower belly. The energy center corresponding with this space, with this idea of flow, with the element of water, is Swadhisthana chakra, meaning sweetness. Maybe as you sink into this pose, you can invite a bit of sweetness into your mind, heart. To acknowledge what joys, what peaceful moments are present. To acknowledge your ability to nurture self, other, concepts, projects, ideas. Bring your attention into the aspects of this posture that are sweet to you. And as you deepen your breath, can you try to send the breath into all those open spaces? Which maybe are more abundant than before. Can you allow the breath to swirl through your entire body, head to toe? Using those smooth breaths, start to wiggle your fingers. Rock your head. And then in order to protect your low back, pull your navel back slightly, lift one knee, and then lift the other knee. And feel the weight of your hips again on the ground. Slide your legs forward, stretch your legs out, and move your ankles around. Pointing and flexing or circling. Take a deep breath in through both nostrils. Let that breath brush against the brain. And then as you exhale, blow the breath out. Now stretch your right arm up over your head. Bend your left knee and let it help you push over to rest on the right side of your body. Curling into yourself, supporting your head with an arm or the floor or a prop. And keep this grounding and this ease about you as you push your way up into a seat. And maybe you use one of the props to sit up onto. And you do all of this easily, mindfully, while still acknowledging your connection to the floor. Thank you for joining. Namaste.